Welcome back to the weigh-in. So today's episode, we're gonna talk about nostalgia.
Nostalgia.
So once again, we like to go by Wikipedia. So I'm gonna give you the Wikipedia definition of what nostalgia is.
Alrighty.
A sentimental longing or a wistful affection for the past, typically for a period or place with happy personal associations. Nostalgia.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. I mean, this you could probably word it differently, but it all means the same thing. It's everybody always talks to people that they know or who are younger, and they'll say things like, when we were younger, it was much better. They were smarter, whatever it might be. And you're thinking you're positive of this because you went through it, and
Yes.
you have no idea what this next person is going to go through, and they're going to say the same thing, and they're going to think the same thing to their friend and whatnot. So it's a never-ending thing, but you can't let go of the reminiscences and the nostalgia of life because that's all you are. You're only here for less than 100 years.
Yeah. One thing that I feel about nostalgia that I've always felt, in my younger days and then now is that nostalgia, for some reason, it has the power to connect me with people more than any other feeling or any other association that I've ever felt. And I can honestly say that.
So you connect that to family and outside of family?
I connected to everything. And
that's very good.
And nostalgia is never denigrated. Like nostalgia, when you're nostalgic about something, it's something that's precious. It's something that's ethereal. It's something that you cherish.
Those special moments are very, very important. And I think we don't realize that when we create the things that create the nostalgia that we love and we live for and we sorrow and we cry about it, whatever it might be, it's like we don't realize how our system is actually made to kind of perpetually keep us going and being pretty good in all generations and eons, as long as we don't totally, screw up and waste our lives away or do something foolish and leave the planet early, whatever. Yeah. But the system is in place because people create music to create a nostalgic effect. Family leaves a nostalgic remembrances. It goes on with food. It goes on with politics, cars, and fashion.
A lot
the system is pretty interesting, like a Mobius loop.
Yeah,
it's a figure eight that continues.
No, absolutely. A lot of nostalgia for me is about emotion, and it's also about just a loving energy that I feel. Like when I think about when I was younger, and it's the same for everybody, and you think back to a time where you felt safe, you felt protected, you felt the most loved, and you want to return to that time. It's like a time capsule in a sense, if not directly a time capsule, because you're using your memories to travel back in time and to think about a time that that had a high emotional resonance, that left you feeling like amazing.
Those impressions you can't erase them from your mind bank. It's there.
Yeah, and the human condition, it puts us in a place that we're gonna lose people, mothers, fathers, grandmothers, people that care for us. They instructed us, they taught us, they educated us, they played with us, and we're not going to always have those people. So nostalgia is a way to venerate, it's a way to celebrate, and it's a way to admire the people that we don't have. And maybe
it substantiates your existence.
Yeah, and it's maybe the people are still alive, but they're just not in our day-to-day. Maybe they moved off, to a different state, a different part of the country, maybe out of the country. But nostalgia is such a powerful thing that we need to take time to let those emotions land.
Especially when you're between 8 to 15 or something like that. It's like your last little time for freedom.
Yes.
You can do some things a little gutsy and ballsy, but you listen to your parents still, and there's not a lot of pressure on you. You don't got to worry about money or finances. You just got to kind of be nice, take the dog out, and don't beat your little sister up.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But then. That's why you always harken back to that time, because as you get older, everything gets a little more heavier, like layers. It lays on top of itself.
Life is more complex.
Yep, and it should be, right?
Yes.
I mean, because that's what makes you a man who you are and everything.
Yes.
But you're allowed to go back and have your little bit of that past and just remember when, God, life was a lot easier. That's awesome.
And it always feels like a delicate time. And
it's fragile.
Yeah, and it's fragile. And there's people that I just miss extremely. that I don't, because you get your day to day, you plug into your life, and you're pretty much doing the same things. And you and I, we're definitely generally happy people. Like we emanate that type of energy, and we're definitely, you and I believe, I know on my part, and I definitely believe on your part, we're always people, you and I are people that look to the future. But there's nothing wrong with looking at the past, and I think about people that are not in my life right now, and I get that feeling of nostalgia because I start to think about the things that we did. I start to feel the ways that we felt when I was with that person. And that's one of the great beauties of the human, experience, is that we can think about something and we're almost like traveled back in time to where all our senses can re-inhabit that moment, that experience, and relive that life that's not there. Because, in reality, we can't get a second back. Whatever happened yesterday, we cannot change. That is set in stone, as far as, the physics of the life that we're living now. So nostalgia allows us to revisit those emotions. And emotions are such powerful movers of the human existence. Like a lot of what we do, if not the majority of what we do, is based off emotion. And nostalgia allows us to anchor in the emotions and the times and the places,
sure.
And the things that made us feel like the best of ourselves.
Yeah, you can't cut those dreams off. If you do, that you will not be a good person as you're older. You will not be the same person. Those are yours. That's like your imprint. You're allowed to do anything you want with that, and you do, and we both do, and it makes us better, because if you put a block on it and say I don't like the past, or people get these little hiccups, they build these defensive walls about the past. Something's bothering them. They let the whole past affect it. It's like, hey, dude, there's always good, there's always bad. I'm not saying our past memories of nostalgic stuff with our family and growing up with our friends in a summer morning are perfect, like a movie. There's bad stuff in there too. You get a wallop every now and then when you're young for being a bad kid. You get smacked across the ass, you cry, but you get over it. But that makes you who you are older. It may sound repetitive. I said it more than once already, but that's exactly what it's all about, man.
Yeah, I remember.
It's a memoir that you don't have to write because it's in your brain.
Yeah, I remember being a very young child, going to my grandparents' house in Pilgrim Village downtown, and my grandmother would, we would spend the night. It maybe be me and my cousin, Anthony Stoney, Akita.
Where's Pilgrim Village, by the way? I can't place that.
It's downtown. It's on the outskirts of like what encompasses like actual downtown theater district.
Okay, so somewhere in those areas.
Yeah, so okay. if you can imagine that, it's close to that area. So we would go down there. My grandparents had like a 3-bedroom apartment there, like senior citizen living, but it was their apartment. They had a basement, upstairs. There was no attic or that. But we would go there and we would spend time. And I remember my grandmother would make blueberry pancakes like every morning. And I can physically taste those pancakes now just thinking about it.
And she knew you loved those things.
Yeah,
huh?
she knew I loved them, and she would make them. And I think about that, and I feel sad that my grandmother's not here. She passed away, obviously, but at the same time, I'm happy that I can relive that moment. Like, I can taste those pancakes. I can see the table. I can see everything in that moment, and I don't. From the literature that I've read and the limited research that I've done, I don't think animals do that. But as human beings, the fact that we can do that is amazing. Like
the recourse, like it's all in different layers of your brain, and every now and then that story just comes up out of the blue. You can start telling the story about what we're talking about, this topic today, and also the grandmother story came back.
Yeah,
it's like the last time it's not like you think about it every day, but it's amazing how your brain can recap that.
Yeah.
And just bring that back and kind of rerun it like a little old movie. It's nice and subtle, a little slow. No. Just, it's like you hear the ticking sound of the camera?
I've been telling this story like in the last couple months, and it was my grandfather. So it was always me and my cousin Anthony Stoney that we would so we were there to be babysat by my grandparents, but at the same time we were there to watch over them and to help them.
Family's supposed to do.
That's definitely what family's supposed to do. So every summer, my grandfather, he was very stringent. He was very strict. Like, he would get us up. He would get up at 5 in the morning, which meant that we were getting up at 5:30.
Oh, yeah.
So we would get up at 5:30 in the morning. He would have breakfast going. We would eat breakfast. And he had our chores already set. So we would take everything that was upstairs and bring it downstairs. Now, after everything was downstairs, can you guess what happened after that?
It's the complete opposite.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Everything that was downstairs, we would take upstairs. But that installed in us work ethic.
Oh, that's amazing.
So,
and they knew that purposely, didn't they?
Yeah, they definitely did it purposely. And so we got to the point where we were just like, all right, tomorrow we're getting up. We're going to take the stuff that's downstairs.
What an amazing, subtle thing. Yeah. You didn't even realize it as a kid either.
It was like the Mr. Miyagi, Karate Kid, wax on, wax off.
When did you actually kind of realize what they were saying to you back then?
No, my perspective back then?
No.
Now?
When did you, how old did you become when you finally realized what they were doing exactly, besides being great-grandparents?
So
when did you realize what their narrative was, their push there?
At that point...
You just thought it was just a training thing.
No, at that point, me and my cousin were like, he's older than me, so I was 16, he was 18, so we were just like, what is Granddad doing? This is horse shit, man. Why do we have to do this? Can we just go to sleep or play or watch TV? But what my grandfather was installing in us is work ethic. Because no one's born with work ethic. It's installed.
Yeah.
It's trained. It's learned. So what he was doing was giving us gifts. He was giving us agency that we would be able to... Like, everything that my grandfather did at that time, I still use now.
He was giving you priceless data, and he was hoping that you would catch it. And he knew you were smart probably as a young boy.
Yeah.
He probably said, I know Julian's going to get this, and his cousin... What was your cousin's name again?
Anthony Stoney.
Anthony, is he a good guy?
Yeah, he's a good guy. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Oh, I love it. I'm glad to hear that. You know,
I
don't want to hear a sad story, but fantastic, you know?
Yeah.
No, my grandparents did a lot for me, too, because when you're young, did you always have to run to your grandparents to save you from getting a whooping sometimes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was like the safe house, if you know.
Definitely.
I used to run over to my grandmother. She lived on Manchester back in the day, in the 70s and late 60s, early 70s.
What area? Manchester, what area is that?
Oh, like Manchester runs like parallel with Richmond between like what do you call it? The lunatic asylum.
I know where Richmond is. Yeah, Elmwood, that area.
Stevenson Complex.
Yes, sir.
That area there on one side, and then Richmond on the other side. And I remember like jumping off the porches. They had big porches back then, big bushes.
Yeah.
You remember doing that a lot? I had a great grandmother who lived downstairs. I'm going to go off. I told one great story to her before it disappears. But all the boys in the neighborhood, we were on that porch. It's like fall when the weather feels the best. You're jumping off the bushes. Well, my grandmother Teresa, she was freaking out. She couldn't put up with it. But it's Elizabeth's kid, Emil, right? So after we got yelled at, and I said, "Go back in the house." I got a little nasty with her. Go back in the house. It's like I'm thinking, you don't know what's going on. You don't speak English. Who are you? Total asshole, right? I learned a lot from this. So, we all eventually the phone calls were coming from the other grandmother and get your asses home and you're all in trouble because somebody said something bad to Emil's great grandmother. It's like it was probably Emil. Yeah. So we run down the driveway. She's hitting people, right? Trying to grab the boys. She's got pussy willows in her hand, right?
Oh yeah.
So I'm running down I'm running down the street on the sidewalk before I hit the sidewalk there, the driveway I should say, and she's hitting me with these pussy willow sticks and it's like what? So ow! I mean it was like a real whipping. I turned around. I said, "Son of a bitch!" and she stopped. Oh, wow. And she looked like one of those.
You said that?
Yeah, I not to her. Just maybe it meant her or in general.
Well, yeah, you said. I know you didn't say it to her, but you said it.
All right. So, whoa! So I get back home about 5 minutes later because I just lived around the corner from there, and that perennial shot like your mother's on the top of the stairs, arm here, leg spread, looking down the stairs. She's backlit. All you got is. She goes, "What the hell did you do?" I said, "Nothing. We just came back from Grandma's house." She goes, "No, you guys were causing trouble downstairs with your great grandmother." I said, "Well, she started going crazy and stuff and hitting people, and that was about it." She goes, "No, there's more to the story. Why don't you tell me the truth?" I don't know what you're talking about, Mom. I figured, how does she know this freaking story, right?
Because she's a mom.
Right? Well, hey, but there's more to that. So I said, I don't know. What's going on? Tell me what the hell's going on here. She goes, "Look, your grandmother speaks in Italian, and she talks to her daughter in Italian, and me, the granddaughter, in Italian. But one thing you never learned, or we never told you, she understands English. So you called her a son of a bitch." I said, "What?" And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "You deserve the whipping you got." That was that story.
Wow.
that crazy?
That's
I'm thinking
awesome.
my old they're the ones that came over in 1915, 1921 to Ellis Island,
and they didn't have to speak any English because
Correct.
you know, like they were already integrated. They were too old to do anything.
But as we were growing older as kids, you know, we were like the fourth generation in the line there.
Yeah.
You know, that was just the weird old grandparents who never spoke English.
Yeah.
I told you the story about the grandfather who the kids in the neighborhood called him the rat killer.
Yeah, you told me that story.
Did we record that?
No, we didn't. But we're gonna save.
We'll save that.
We'll definitely save that because that's an awesome.
Hey, look,
story.
this has been a great episode. I'm really looking forward to doing more on this subject, man.
No, because nostalgia in itself is a time machine, and it allows you to go back. And for a guy like me who lives in the future, getting to take that trip back is amazing. And
it's a
just
total chill down.
Yeah, it's definitely a chill down. And everybody that's listening, please feel free to comment in the comment section about your nostalgic moment. You know, if you have a nostalgic moment, and everybody has.
Give us a moment. If it catches our fancy, we'll talk about it. We'll discuss it if you'd like.
And just in general, if you want us to if you want us to weigh in on anything in particular, just let us know in the comment section or the Facebook page, and we'll definitely do it.
Awesome.
So, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That was the weigh-in.
The weigh-in. Have a good evening.
What did the hurricane say to the palm trees? It said, "Hold your nuts, this is going to be one hell of a blowjob." My father had a shirt with that. Oh yeah, he had a shirt with that on it. And I thought it was the funniest thing. And my mother would get so mad when he wore his shirt out. And Pop looked at you and just like, "You're not going to wear that shirt to Denise's party." And he's like, "Yes, I am, woman."
I know. I mean, dudes from the old days like myself and whatnot, it's like we were so stupid in some ways, and we just wore stupid shirts. Like, I had a shirt when I was young. It said, "Sock it to me, here comes the judge."
I remember that.
It was a movie, right?
I remember that.
It was a big saying in the 1970s. Like,
yeah,
I had a shirt. I was a young boy wearing this stupid ass shirt. Sock it to me, here comes the judge. I think it was a song or some shit.
No, I can't
was a
remember.
movie too, right?
No, it was a show.
Oh, was it a show?
It was a show. We'll address it in the comment section or in the description or something.
But if we're an example of what we just talked about, it's pretty evident. It works.
Like you said, laughter is medicinal.
Oh, it really is.
Laughter is healthy. Laughter communicates so many things that people just don't understand. Like, when you're somewhere laughing, like, it invites people in.
Sure it does.
Because the world is filled with so much negativity, so many Debbie Downers,